So in this video, I want to look at how Melissa responds to the idea that Bryce is cheating. And I'm doing that because we see lots of red flags from Bryce, but Melissa ignores them over and over again. And this is something that a lot of people in abusive relationships do. So I want to examine it more closely. Let's have a look at what happens in each of these situations.
Have you ever been in a relationship where you realised that you wanted to be with somebody else, or you found somebody else?
What regard?
You wouldn't just cheat on somebody and string that person along. You would do the right thing and end the relationship.
If she wasn't biased, she'd say, would you do this? But she doesn't want to hear it. She wants to know that he wouldn't do it. And that's the message she's sending him. I need you to not be the kind of person who would do this. Please reassure me that that's who you are. So it's clear that Melissa has made a decision about who Bryce is without waiting to see what his behaviour tells her about him. And that's why it's hard for her to see him clearly.
It is a tough question because I don't know if you're going to like my answer. Yeah, I have been one of those guys that has cheated on a partner before, and
Bryce has answered Melissa's question honestly, it seems. So he's resisted the temptation to tell her what she wants to hear. But as we can see, she was making it really easy for somebody to do that. People who stay in abusive relationships like this will project their own values onto the abuser. And they're so attached to seeing the abuser in this light that they can't respond appropriately to the abuse. It's so important to look out for what the other person's behaviours are telling you about them and not to decide who they are until you've got a really good idea of how they behave in different situations. He's telling her, yes, I am somebody who would string a woman along while I cheat on her. So Melissa has more information about him now. What's she going to make of that?
Yeah, that's heavy.
like to think now that I don't get labelled as a cheater just because it happened once. Like, I know there's guys that do it over and over again, but I'm just not that type of guy. Not anymore.
He's saying he's a changed man, but we've already seen in the last few videos that he's a really unempathic person.
I didn't think that I would get that response though, but I'm not going to let something from your past potentially ruin something that we've, you know, this could potentially be something good, so that doesn't change my opinion of you.
Why not? In the last videos, he's already made it clear to her he doesn't respect women, so why would this come as a surprise? But she's been projecting her own values onto him from the start. The language she uses here is interesting. I'm not going to let something from your past potentially ruin something good. So because she says, I'm not going to let this happen, it seems that she's giving herself the responsibility to make sure his past doesn't interfere with their relationship. If she now sees signs that he's a completely changed person, the relationship might still work out, but they're not starting off from scratch because she has this information about him. So why should she have to act as if they are starting off from scratch?
I do appreciate you sort of looking past it.
I can only trust him and just keep building on that. In the Bryce that I've come to know is a good guy. People make mistakes and everyone deserves a second chance.
Hang on, how do you know he made a mistake? People don't deceive each other by mistake. They do it intentionally. So he wanted to deceive this person and he wanted to cheat on her. I don't agree with what she says about second chances. Not everyone deserves a second chance. It depends on what they did, why, and if they would still want to do the same thing again. So the question Melissa needs to be asking herself is, has Bryce had a life-changing experience that has changed the way he perceives others and himself? And as a result, he doesn't want to treat people that way anymore. And it doesn't seem to me that he has, because of the way he treats Melissa across these videos.
Melissa, do you believe that there's any part of those rumours that are true?
We've spoken about the girlfriend thing. You know, why would you come into this experiment if you had a girlfriend?
It's a fair point.
There's no... I'm sure she's enjoying hearing about our sex life and everything that we've done in the
Sure
experiment.
as I won't have a girlfriend after she sees this, will I?
She said, I'm sure she's enjoying watching, as if they've both admitted he does have a girlfriend.
If it apparently exists.
It seems very suspicious to me the way Bryce is changing his story and now saying it's hypothetical.
If it apparently exists.
What I have been asking myself, selfishly, was why did nobody come to me weeks ago with this? Then I would have probably been more inclined to believe it.
Melissa posted this on Instagram. Lisa Rawson. I'm a good person. I don't make assumptions. I don't need to yell to get my point across, and I don't hold on to information about my friend for weeks and think that telling them at a girls' night in front of everyone is the right thing to do. You can be the jury, but I am the judge. I'll see fit to do what I want, and your opinion is just that, an opinion. So she's turning against the person who told her about Bryce's alleged cheating, and presumably this woman was contractually obligated to tell her while the cameras were on.
I don't know if you know about a girl back in Canberra that he's been talking to and messaging.
Oh, shit.
He has been messaging her quite frequently. And he said that he has to do this show for his exposure, for his career in radio. I heard it from one of Bryce's very good mates, Jason.
If the cheating rumours were true, Bryce was marrying Melissa, leading her on and abusing her in front of hundreds of thousands of people, all for the supposed benefit of his career. And yet Melissa isn't taking out any anger on him.
This hurts so much. But I am the biggest fool. To have Sam come in tonight and to say that Bryce has a girl outside of the experiment, I'm very upset that's come to this because I've...
Either way, even if she would have liked it if this woman had told her sooner, they weren't best friends. And it's another example of one woman turning on another instead of facing the man who really did betray her. I don't want to say all of this is true. Bryce hasn't said it is himself, not that he would. But somebody does come as a witness, and he calls himself a friend of Bryce's. He was at Bryce's wedding. He had been invited by him, and he says that he knows that he was cheating on Melissa, that there are texts, there is physical evidence of this.
Jason, who I just caught up with in Canberra.
He had all the messages and...
Where there's smoke, there is fire.
There's a few people now claiming that they've seen the physical evidence for this. They could all be lying, but from what we know about Bryce, from the way he treats Melissa now in Married at First Sight, and from the way he treated his previous girlfriend, it wouldn't be a surprise if he was cheating on her. But Bryce and Melissa are still together. Bryce has moved to Melbourne to be with Melissa. It could be that he's just running away from his life. He's running away from all of the judgment and from the people who he told to lie about him, because that's apparently what he did. And if he does have a girlfriend, or rather if he did have a girlfriend, maybe she doesn't want anything more to do with him now, because it's just too embarrassing if everybody in the world knows about how he's been leading somebody on TV. It can be easy to fool yourself into thinking somebody's into you because they don't want to break up with you, so that means that you must mean a lot to them, when in reality it could just be handy for them to be with you. They might be getting something from you, but that doesn't mean that they respect you or care about you.
When I was in the gym, Bryce mentioned that he put me at the top of his attraction list. He said it will be very easy to get to the end with Liz. And he also mentioned that he had a girl on the outside. He said that his mate was over at the moment and had messaged him and asked him if he wanted to get her a gift because he was going back. And he said he didn't want to get caught.
Well, the first part of the story is true. I did talk about the attraction week and I said, hey, I put, again, not to rub it in, but put Melissa not as my top person.
Bryce admitted to telling Beck she was number one because Melissa knows she was number one. So how would Beck know this too unless Bryce had said that to her? So he didn't really have any choice, he had to admit that.
There's no mention of a girlfriend or someone else outside the experiment. Definitely no mention of a gift.
Why would he say there was no mention of one? Surely he would say, I don't have a girlfriend. I would never have said that. So it's a strange way to answer it. There was no mention of a girlfriend and definitely no mention of a gift. It's strange that the emphasis is on the gift and not on the girlfriend. Saying there was no mention of is also a way to distance himself. He's not saying, I never said this. That's what people do when they lie. They want to sort of push the whole thing away from themselves and make it as impersonal as possible.
If he wanted to get her a gift because he was going back, and he said he didn't want to get caught, and he said he didn't want to get caught.
And now Melissa is asked about how she feels about Bryce telling Rebecca he rated her the highest.
Why? Why did you tell her?
It's just a general conversation.
I didn't go around and tell everybody else where they were
It's
placed.
just a general conversation.
That's embarrassing for me.
I don't think it's embarrassing for you.
It is. That's how I feel.
Okay.
Of course it's humiliating for your husband to tell another woman he thinks she's better looking than his wife, but I think Bryce just wants her to believe she's wrong to feel the way she does, because he doesn't want to take responsibility for what he's done, and he wants to suggest to her that he had no bad intention. If he denies it would be embarrassing, then he claims ignorance of the meaning of what he did. It's his way, I think, of claiming he meant no harm.
Why do you always belittle people? Even in the gym, you're belittling your wife to me to make yourself feel bigger.
Can I just jump in?
What does that do to you and your relationship with Bryce when you see this unfolding, you're hearing it, you're watching it?
I don't listen to anyone else. I only listen to him.
And this is the problem. She's shut down all of the evidence that might show Bryce's true intentions, and she's only willing to listen to what he feeds her. She's that desperate for him to be who she wants him to be. She can't afford to see him as someone who doesn't feel that way. Because I think in her mind she's a pretty worthless person. If he doesn't want her, all these very painful feelings of rejection and worthlessness will have to come up to the surface. It's much less painful to believe everyone in the room is wrong about Bryce. Letting Bryce do the thinking for her is a sign of learned helplessness. As children, if our emotional needs are continually not met, if our boundaries are continually crossed, if we have a controlling, overbearing parent, if we're consistently never heard, we stop trusting our own judgments. We can't make decisions, we constantly doubt ourselves, we go round in circles, overthinking our interactions with people. We get so confused because we never know if we're right or if we're getting everything wrong. When you're in this state of learned helplessness, it's very easy for a predator to step in and do your thinking for you. That's why it's really important to cut off from those influences while you heal. Don't allow those toxic voices back in that cause you to drop yourself and leave yourself behind, because it's very easy to get brainwashed by them again, even when you're feeling strong. I'm going to leave it here and carry on in the next video. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and I'll see you then.